owe you, Michael.
Great. Thank you. And thank you all for joining the Boston Zoning Commission public hearing. The open public meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of today's meeting is being made. I will now take a roll call of the members present at the beginning of the meeting. Please identify yourself as being present. Mr. DeMella.
Sorry, present.
Mr. Marr.
Present.
Ms. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Leff.
Present.
Mr. Arroyo.
Present.
Mr. Ostrich.
Present.
Mr. McNeil.
Present.
And I am present. This will be our 9 a.m. public hearing, but before we get into that, we'll have any interpreters on the line introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. Joan, please, and then Jesse right after.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joan. I'll be the Cantonese interpreter for this morning's meeting. 大家好，我係 Joan， 會係今朝嘅廣東話傳譯員。一陣間主持人啟動翻譯嘅頻道嘅時候，你會見到熒光幕底部有個地球儀標誌，點選地球儀標誌，揀廣東話 Cantonese 就可以聽到今朝嘅即時傳譯。唔該晒 ，Thank you, Annie.
Hello, my name is Jess Elam. I will be the Mandarin interpreter for today for this morning's meeting. 大家好，我的名字是 Jessie， 我将会是今天早上你们的传译员你们可以在荧幕下面的地球仪上点选国语就可以听到我的翻译了，谢谢 ，Thank you.
Great, thank you. Interpretation channels are open for those who need them. A 9 a.m. public hearing. This is a public hearing before the Boston Zoning Commission to consider map amendment application number 792 and a petition for approval of the Suffolk University IMP amendment. The hearing was duly advertised on January 23, 2025 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Zoning Commission hearing on proposed petitions, the proponent will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the commission only. We'll be taking support and opposition at the same time. If you plan to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click the hand icon on your Zoom control panel to signal to staff that you wish to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to speak in the order in which you are recognized. You will unmute your microphone. Your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all those who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. Commission staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, you will please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents will be allowed a period of rebuttal at the close of public testimony. Will the planning department please begin the presentation?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Dylan Norris, and I am a project assistant in the Development Review Department at the Planning Department. The proposal before you this morning is an amendment to the Suffolk University 2020 Institutional Master Plan in connection with the proposed institutional project located at 101 Tremont Street in the downtown neighborhood, which involves the conversion of an existing approximately 88,000 square foot office building and converting approximately 67,000 square feet into student housing with second floor amenity space for various student activities and a student lounge. The proposed project adds up to 280 undergraduate student housing beds. The ground floor will consist of 8,938 square feet of publicly accessible retail/restaurant space, which will remain. The Suffolk University 2020 IMP was approved by the BPDA board on May 14th, 2020, and adopted by the Zoning Commission on June 10th, 2020, as well as approved by the mayor on June 19th, 2020, with an effective date of June 19th, 2020. On August 15th, 2024, Suffolk submitted the Institutional Master Plan notification form, as well as a project notification form. On October 23rd, 2024, Suffolk submitted the proposed IMP amendment before you today. Suffolk presented the proposed project to the Suffolk Task Force and the public in a joint task force public meeting held on September 17th, 2024, and another one on November 19th, 2024. The comment period for this proposed IMP amendment ended on December 27th, 2024. I will now turn it over to Ford Del Vecchio to cover the planning context before the Suffolk University team begins their presentation. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ford Del Vecchio, and I'm the planning reviewer assigned to this project. Launched in October 2023, the Downtown Residential Conversion Incentive Pilot Program, the Downtown Conversion Program, aims to support the adaptive reuse of commercial office buildings into residential use. The pilot program was informed by both one, the City of Boston's October 2022 Downtown Revitalization Report, which analyzed and made recommendations for downtown economic revitalization, as well as number two, the Planned Downtown Planning Process, which recommended a downtown office conversion program as a key strategy for achieving the plan goals. While this project is not utilizing the tax credit offered by the pilot program, the proposed project helps to further the goals outlined in the plan and helps to reinforce the residential growth of downtown. The proposed project and corresponding IMP amendment also furthers the goals of the Boston Housing Strategy 2025, which notes the city will work with Boston's many colleges and universities through their institutional master plans process to reduce the numbers of students living in off-campus housing. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to the development team to present in more detail.
John, I think you might be muted.
My apologies. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, and thank you for taking the time this morning to look at this project for us. We have considered this project to be a very important one for the university, and we are very proud that it comes as a product of the institutional master planning process. We see the project as something that dovetails very nicely with City of Boston goals and objectives to increase more housing and to reactivate downtown business buildings. This is, as was mentioned, been a vacant building and has been not used extensively except for the first floor where we have a restaurant. We hope to be able to see this project as helping us make progress for our own university goals for housing students. We currently house about 34% of our undergraduate students. We have a goal of housing 50% of our undergraduate students, and this project will get us to 40%. So it's progress, and we're excited about that and look forward to having that 50% goal met in the near future. It also helps us reduce student impacts in the downtown area. North End, Beacon Hill has had experiences with students in the past, not just Suffolk students, of course, but other students as well, in terms of neighborhood disruptions, loud parties, and that kind of thing. This pulls students out of the private housing market and puts them into supervised settings in university housing. And that's another goal that we have, and we think it'll be help us. This project will help us move that. We, as I mentioned, take the institutional master plan process very seriously. In the beginning of our most recent master planning process, we established some core planning principles. More housing for students, obviously, was one of them. Getting off of residential Beacon Hill has been a goal of ours since 2008. Thus, we have the slide here. And predictability for the stakeholders of the university in terms of where we might be expanding in the downtown area, because it's obviously very different to project specific properties and specific buildings that you'll be using when you're on an urban campus such as Suffolk University. If you look at this slide, what you will see is the beginning of a spine campus running along Tremont and Washington Street for the university. But what you'll also see in the upper left is a concentration of academic facilities in residential Beacon Hill. We found, and I think residential Beacon Hill found, that that wasn't a great fit. And we all decided as part of the planning process, the institutional master plan planning process, that we wanted to change that, move off of residential Beacon Hill, and further encourage the creation of a spine along Tremont and Washington Street. So you see the properties, you see the beginning of a spine, you see a heavy concentration on Beacon Hill, you see an outlier in the bottom right corner, which was the New England School of Art and Design, which is no longer there. Next slide. Now, looking at the map as it exists today, you see the concentration of academic and a dorm facilities up on residential Beacon Hill is gone. Those uses have been transferred to other buildings, most notably the new academic and science building that we built in 2016 and up in Government Center, Beacon Hill, non-residential Beacon Hill, at 20 Somerset Street, the home of the old Metropolitan District Commission building. So here's the spine coming down Tremont Street into Washington Street. You will look and you'll see the yellow, kind of hard to see, the yellow building right in the middle of the urban campus spine that I've been talking about. We developed 3 dorms during that period of time. This will be the 4th. The 3 dorms were the 10 West Residence Hall down on West Street, the Modern Theater Residence Hall on Washington Street, the 1 Court Street Residence Hall, which was the old Ames Hotel, and the 4th hotel, which would be created by this project, of course, is at 101 Tremont Street. Next slide. This was the core, this was the basis of our institutional master plan, and it remains as such. We have established 4 projected growth clusters. And these are our areas of expected and anticipated expansion going into the future. 3 of those areas are in this crescent. 1 is also in the crescent. It's the faint blue line. The 3 are the dark blue lines. So the central academic cluster is where we hope to have all of our academic functions and do right now. And the other 3 expansion clusters are where we hope to have additional non-academic uses, such as residence halls or any other kind of student amenities that we might want to try to develop. 101 Tremont Street, as you see, is right smack dab in the middle of those clusters. So we couldn't have got it better in terms of our projected area of expansion. Same with the Ames Hotel dorm that we did in 2020, also in the clusters. So it's all working out as we expected. And that's why we take the institutional master planning process so seriously and think it's a help not only to the university, but to stakeholders, to neighbors, to city officials, and others trying to get a handle on where Suffolk University might be growing in the future. Next slide. These are the residence halls that have come online in recent years. 150 Tremont Street, 443 beds, came online in 1996. That was obviously our first residence hall. We were entirely a commuter school prior to that time. Miller Hall in 2003, 352 beds. That's at 10 Somerset Street. The 10 West Residence Hall, 2008, 266 beds. The Modern Theater Residence Hall. This is a project that was done as part of a preservation of the Modern Theater, the old Mayflower Theater on Washington Street. And what we were able to do was to preserve the facade of the theater, restore the theater to active use, and build a dorm up above the theater. That came online in 2010 with 184 beds. 1 Court Street, or the Ames Hotel, 273 beds in 2020. And this again would be 280 beds coming online and opening, as we hope, opening in the fall of 2026. Next slide. Again, just to reiterate, community benefits of this project, it helps take the pressure off the rental market in downtown Boston by pulling students out of units where there might be 1, 2, or 3 students in there now. They will now be in housing provided by the university and freeing up those units for families and workforce housing and other uses, which are important to the downtown area. and helps improve that vitality for that area. We'll be doing a $75,000 contribution to expanding the Blue Bikes network to help increase and enhance the amount of bike share options for the area. We will be updating and improving the sidewalks in the area, and we will continue to have a strong commitment to providing community benefits on an ongoing basis, totaling now about $8 million or slightly over that. So that continues. I should point out that this had the support in our public hearings. I believe it was unanimous. Nobody has opposed it. It received full support of all of the elected officials covering the district, which would be State Representative Aaron Mikowitz, City Councilor Ed Flynn, Senator Lydia Edwards, and Council President Ruthie Louis-Young. We also had the support of community groups downtown, the Downtown Business Alliance, formerly the BID, the Downtown Residents Association. Abutters have come on board, the Holocaust Museum on one side at Hamilton Place, and the Hotel AKA on the other side across Bosworth Street have written letters of support for the project. Next slide. Adding this to the list, this will add 101 Tremont Street to the list of Suffolk University owner leased properties and create an IMP overlay for the proposed project. Expand our student housing, establish a strong sense of campus in downtown Boston and in the anticipated growth clusters, provide students with access to our academic facilities, and as I mentioned, quite importantly to us, help us reach that 50% goal by getting us to 40%, an increase from 34%. I am now going to turn it over to Beth Wilson-Shunta of NBBJ for a look at the project.
Thank you, John. Next slide, please. So John mentioned why this location of the building and site is such an important one for the university along that academic spine for Suffolk University. It also is near many city landmarks across the street from the Granary Burial Ground. And the building was originally built in 1899 and was originally named the Paddock Building, which has a sign on the front, as you can see in that center image there. It is a masonry and steel building. It was our intention to preserve as much of the building as possible, while we do need to make some upgrades to adhere to the current energy code. Next page, please. And here is just a breakdown of the square footage of the building existing versus now in terms of the different programs. With the conversion of the building from office to student housing, the gross square footage will remain exactly the same. We are not adding square footage to the building. The tenant space on the ground floor remains as is. And the major change here is converting that 67,170 square foot office to dormitory use. The project, as mentioned before, will house up to 280 beds. Next slide, please. On the ground floor, this is a ground floor plan. As I mentioned before, that existing retail will remain as is. The existing lobby space to the building will also remain intact, but we will be renovating it for the use of Suffolk University. The major interventions on this floor really have to do with the egress of the building. So at the top right, we have a new egress stair coming through the building from up above. And then at the south side, we have an egress stair coming from below to be able to provide that egress for the building. The project will be replacing all of the existing sidewalks surrounding the site. And along with that, we will be upgrading the accessibility ramps and crosswalks at all of those locations within that site and across the street from those sites. The project will also provide short-term bike parking at the adjacent Suffolk University site, 120 Tremont Sargent Hall. Next slide, please. This section just shows a programmatic breakdown of the building. The existing tenant space is that pink color on the ground floor and the first basement level. The basement below that is primarily building support spaces. And then up above on the second floor is a student amenity space that will help support the students that live here. And then all of the blue color from the third floor through the 11th is all of the student housing. Next slide, please. This is a conceptual rendering of any of the impacts that we are making and changes we are making to the exterior. The windows will be replaced from the second floor through the 11th floor of the building. And this has to do with that energy performance to help improve the building's performance as a whole. Along with that, we will be providing minimal signage along the existing canopy of the building and then 2 banner signs similar to some of the other Suffolk University properties nearby. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. The building is currently achieving LEED Silver. We are at 53 points and still exploring opportunities to potentially hit that LEED Gold mark. The project is predicting excellent carbon emission intensity. The mechanical systems are being upgraded to all efficient electric space and domestic hot water heating systems. The university is also exploring purchase of renewable energy credits to offset a portion of that energy consumption of the building. And the project is located outside of that coastal resilience overlay district. So, and we are making efforts to aid with that climate change resiliency. We're locating new mechanical systems on the roof, providing a new roof membrane with a SRI of 0.85. The project is reusing over 60% of the existing building, including foundation, structure, and solid building envelope. Next slide. And I will hand it over to John to close it out. Thank you.
John, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with this all day, all morning. This summarizes what I talked about, basically, the project decreasing the reliance of student populations and taking pressure off of the downtown rental market, providing a safe and supervised setting for students, and also protecting stakeholders as well from student impacts that occur in neighborhoods. Downtown neighborhoods, particularly which are dense and people are close together, such as the North End and on residential areas like Beacon Hill. It will create jobs, additional Suffolk University Police Department jobs, as well as a full-time residence director, and about 146 construction jobs will be provided. It is going to bring a certain energy and vitality to this particular area, which I think we would all agree could use it right now, and we're happy to be part of that. Suffolk has been a believer in Boston, or a believer in downtown Boston for many years. In some ways, we've been a pioneer along with Emerson in the theater district, and we continue to believe in Boston and look forward to providing our help with that. And sustainability, Beth covered. So it's, again, all in all, we see it as a win-win and a project that dovetails nicely with the city of Boston's goal and objectives. With that, any questions?
Thank you. As the staff takes down the presentation, we will see if we have any questions from our commissioners.
Thank you so much, John. That was an incredible presentation. I guess my question is, to the extent you can, I'm 1000% in favor of this for all the reasons stated. I guess my question is there plans for additional taking over of these offices for dorms, to the extent you can disclose that? Yeah,
we are always monitoring the landscape for additional opportunities in the downtown area. It's important for us to be a part of movements to revitalize these buildings, because this is our neighborhood. And not having buildings that are not utilized properly or remaining vacant doesn't help our neighborhood, nor does it help the school. So we want to do this. It's hard to pinpoint exactly. It's an urban campus, and we're kind of subject to the market and what becomes available when and for how much. So rest assured that we want to continue to get to that 50% goal that we have. And the answer, I guess, is yes. The prime area we'll be looking will be in the downtown area.
That'd be great, and especially that this area. I'd love to see you a couple more times this year, John. And
No, this
Thank you.
area, you're right, Jamie. This area and the letter blocks, obviously.
yeah, I spend a lot of time on West Street and on Tremont, and it's the buildings you have there do add a lot of vitality to those streets,
Yep.
a lot of life. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? Hearing none, we will move forward with public testimony. If you are interested in testifying, please indicate your interest on Zoom. If you're on the phone, you can hit *9. Any public comment on this hearing?
I do not have any raised hands, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any motions or discussion by, as we move into our business session, any motions or discussion by members of the commission?
I just want to sort of echo many of the comments that Jamie made. I think this is very impressive. Both the planning and the whole goals that Suffolk has and the achievement of that, and a chance to also further revitalize the downtown at a time where we have a lot of vacant office space, and we're trying to do more and more with that. I applaud this project and the direction that Suffolk is going.
I would agree. I think this is thoroughly sensible and encourage more alternative office uses like this. So I would make a motion to approve map amendment application number 792, Suffolk University Institutional Master Plan Amendment, map 1A, Midtown Cultural District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call vote of the commission. Mr. DeMella.
Yes.
Mr. Marr.
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Miller. Ms. Miller. We'll come back. Mr. Leff.
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Yes, maybe you didn't hear me.
Ms. Miller is a yes, thank you. Mr. Arroyo.
Yes.
Mr. Ostrich.
Yes.
Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
And the chair on this hearing will abstain. The motion carries 7 in favor with 1 abstention. Congratulations and thank you to the Suffolk University team.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
We will move right forward with our 9:15 public hearing. Thank you for joining the Boston Zoning Commission public hearing. The open public meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made. We will now take a roll call of the members present at the beginning of this hearing. So get those unmute buttons ready. Mr. DeMella.
Yes, here.
Mr. Marr.
Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Yes.
Mr. Ostrich.
Yes.
And Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
And I'm present. All right, our 9:15 a.m. public hearing. This is a public hearing before the Boston Zoning Commission to consider map amendment application number 791. The hearing was duly advertised on January 23rd, 2025 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Zoning Commission hearing on proposed petitions, the proponent will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the commission only. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. If you are planning to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to staff that you wish to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you are calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When we call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to unmute your microphone to speak. Your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who wish to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. Commission staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents are allowed a brief period of rebuttal if they so desire. Will the planning department please begin the presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Next slide, please.
The map amendments before you, oh, I'm sorry, didn't introduce myself. Ted Schwartzberg from the Planning Review Team. I'm presenting on behalf of one of my staff members who couldn't be here today. She just had a baby. So the map amendments before you are to correct a clerical error in map amendment application number 748 from 2022. Back then, that was the amendment to implement zoning that resulted from the Western Avenue Corridor rezoning planning study. And the amendment before you today makes no substantive change. This slide shows the existing zoning map 7BD on the left and the proposed on the right. As you can see, this is the zoning map for the Alston neighborhood, delineating the zoning subdistricts, overlays, and PDA designated areas. Next slide, please. Thank you. The proposed amendments affect a small area of the map south of Western Ave and west of Everett Street. Due to a symbology error, the existing map lacks delineation between the Everett-Telford Community Commercial 1 subdistrict and the Barry's Corner Community Commercial 1 subdistrict. The proposed amendment would correct this mistake by adding the subdistrict boundaries as intended when this commission reviewed and approved the original map amendment in 2022. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Michael, you're muted.
I was muted. Are there any questions or from members of the commission? Hearing none, we'll move forward with public testimony. Is there anyone on the line today who wishes to testify on this matter?
I have no raised hands, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, we will move forward with our business session. Are there any comments or motions from the commission?
I just want to say, Ted, thank you, and thank you for the whole team to making us do our work again here. So, but I'll make a motion to approve this map amendment application number 793, development plan for plan development area number 155, 250 Everett Street, Boston, Brighton, map 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, and 7B, 7D, Alston Brighton Neighborhood District.
Wrong one.
Oh,
Whoops, sorry.
Wrong number 2. Not that I don't think that the proponent wouldn't want approval for that right away, but
Sorry, too many in Brighton today. Sorry, I retract that and make a motion to approve map amendment application number 791 Western Avenue Corridor Study and Rezoning Correction, map 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, and 7B, 7D, Alston Brighton Neighborhood District.
second.
There is a proper motion and second. Any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, we'll move forward with a roll call vote. Mr. DeMella.
Yes.
Mr. Marr.
My vote's going to be after. I'm going to give Mr. DeMello a pass after the success of Monday night. He's probably still enjoying the fruits of that result. So,
hey, can you two take that offline, please? I'm sorry to interrupt this vote, but can we keep ComAv out of this? Thank you.
yes.
Mr. Marr is a yes. Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Leff.
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Yes.
Mr. Ostrich.
Yes.
Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. That's 8 in favor. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
We will move forward with our 9:30 a.m. public hearing. Thank you for joining the Boston Zoning Commission public hearing. The open public meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made. We'll now take a roll call of the members present at the beginning of this hearing. Mr. DeMella.
Yes.
Mr. Marr.
Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Yes.
Mr. Ostrich.
Yes.
And Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
This public hearing is before the Boston Zoning Commission to consider map amendment number 793 and a petition for approval of the development plan for planned development area number 155, 250 Everett Street in Boston. The hearing was duly advertised on January 23rd, 2025 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Zoning Commission hearing on proposed petitions, the proponent will first present their case and are subject to the questioning by members of the commission only. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. If you are planning to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click the hand icon on the Zoom control panel. This will signal that you wish to speak. If you are calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to unmute your microphone. Your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. Commission staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents will be allowed a brief period of rebuttal if they so desire. Will the planning department please begin this presentation?
Good morning, and thank you, Commission Chair and Commissioners. My name is Stephen Harvey, and I'm a Senior Project Manager at the City of Boston Planning Department. Thank you for your time today. The proposal I bring before you for consideration is the Proposed Development Plan for Planned Development Area PDA number 155 and Proposed Large Project at 250 Everett Street, located at 250 Everett Street in Brighton. The proposed project filed a letter of intent, LOI, on May 8th, 2023, and filed a project notification form, PNF, on January 5th, 2024. The proposal calls for the demolition of the existing building and the construction of a new multifamily residential building. The new residential building proposal is approximately 6 stories in height, containing approximately 250,250 square feet of gross floor area. The residential building will have approximately 240 residential units with a below-grade parking for up to 120 vehicle spaces. The proposal also includes an enclosed bicycle storage area with approximately 240 bicycle parking spaces for residents and employees of the proposal, as well as approximately 48 publicly accessible short-term bicycle parking spaces. Pursuant to Section 80B-5.3 of the Code, I hosted an Impact Advisory Group IAG meeting for the proposal on January 23rd, 2024, and on November 19th, 2024. Also hosted public meetings for the proposal on January 30th, 2024 and November 21st, 2024. If approved by the Zoning Commission, this would allow the proponent to begin construction of the overall proposal after receiving approval from the Public Improvement Commission and completing design review with the Planning Department. With that said, I will shortly turn it over to the 250 Everett Street team, led by Tim Alexander of Mill Creek Residential. Tim will showcase the proposal in full. However, before that occurs, my planning colleague, Ford Del Vecchio, will present the planning context for the proposal. Once the entire presentation is complete, Tim Alexander, Matthew Kiefer, Patrick O'Connor, and I will take questions from the commission. Thank you once again for your time this morning.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ford Del Vecchio, and I'm presenting for LOIs, a senior planner on the planning review team who's out for parental leave. The proposed project at 250 Everett Street is located in Alston, just south of Western Avenue on the west side of Everett Street. It is located centrally within a large block that includes Star Market and significant surface parking. Smith Playground and the Charles River Parkway are within a 5-minute walk, and Boston Landing Station is within a half mile. As shown here, there have been some development activity along this stretch of Western Avenue, including new office and R&D to the east of Everett, as well as residential developments to the west. Next slide, please. The proposed project is squarely within the planning boundaries of the Western Avenue Corridor Rezoning Study, known as WACR-Z, adopted by the BPDA Board 2 years ago in October 2022. You can see the WACR-Z study area outlined here with the proposed project outline and lightly shaded in red. Specifically relevant to 250 Everett, the study recommends use and dimensional standards. In terms of use, the area was envisioned for residential use as well as ground floor retail where appropriate, especially in the redevelopment of existing commercial uses. In terms of dimensions, the 250 Everett parcel straddles 2 sub-areas of the study. The various corner sub-areas seen in the light red and darker orange colors is envisioned as a higher density node with commercial development. A small portion on the northern edge of the project is within the Barry's Corner sub-area. The recommended max height here is 125 feet. Then, in the Everett-Telford sub-area, shown here in yellow, in which most of the proposed project is located, the recommended max height is 65 feet. The recommended max lot coverage is 60% in both sub-areas. Shortly after the study's adoption, its recommendations were codified with amendments to Article 51 adopted by this zoning commission. Next slide, please. This chart compares some key facts about the proposed project to adopted planning and zoning. Specifically in this area, PDAs are allowed when they advance planning goals, including provisions of affordable housing, creation of new street connections, and new open space. The proposed project is a PDA. In terms of use, reading left to right along the top row, the project is multifamily residential, consistent with zoning and planning. In terms of dimensions, reading left to right in row 2, the proposal was carefully designed to be consistent with zoning as well as with the proposed dimensions in WACR Z. This is complicated by the fact that the proposed project is bisected in 2 zoning sub-districts and planning areas, but this was carefully considered during the Article 80 review process, so the project's dimensions reflect a blend of the recommended dimensions for both sub-areas. For example, the proposed height is consistent with the lower density sub-area, and the proposed FAR is less dense than the max FAR of the lower density area. These substantial community benefits advance planning goals as required for a PDA in this area. Thank you, and I will now pass over to the proponent.
Great, thank you, Ford. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. I'm Tim Alexander with Mill Creek Residential. I appreciate the time this morning. As Ford and Stephen so well described, our project sits firmly within what is affectionately known as the WACR Z zoning, Western Ave Corridor zoning. You can see on this slide the summary of the project, both the details on size and scale, 240 residential units within the WACR Z zoning is designed to be 17% affordable or 41 of the residential units. You can see the details on job creation, community benefits, and sustainability, of which I'll describe a little bit more on future slides. A little bit more on context on the next slide. This aerial shows obviously our site just south of Western Avenue on Everett Street. Interestingly, you can see the sort of spine of commercial that runs from Western Avenue all the way to the Mass Pike, of which we sit as a part. But of course, the context also shows the residential neighborhood just to our east and of course to the west as well. So as Ford and Stephen described, from a planning and zoning perspective, it was very important to us that the Western Avenue corridor study and zoning contemplated this mix of commercial and residential and talked about a transition to create the appropriate density, building height, and other planning metrics for the site. We've been involved with this site since 2021 and watched closely as the corridor study was fully completed and then approved and obviously codified into zoning. The next slide shows just some current eye-level shots and existing conditions. The project site is 1.8 acres, currently home to a 3-story commercial building that you can see on the lower right picture. That building was constructed in the 1980s and is surrounded primarily by surface parking. Immediate neighbor to the south is the McNamara House, a senior affordable housing community that's been a fixture in the neighborhood for decades. And to the west and north is the commercial development that Stephen referenced and its associated parking, which is largely for the Star Market, but also for several other restaurant and retail uses. Picture A on the upper left is a view from the southwest corner of that Star Market parking lot looking east. Picture B is taken from Western Avenue looking south towards the site. And picture C, of course, is from Everett Street looking directly into the site and the existing 3-story building. The next slide is a bit of a recap of what Ford just described. But of course, the project was designed and proposed and with the Western Ave zoning in mind. And we'll get a little bit more into detail on that. And Ford mentioned building height, lot coverage, parking ratio, of course. I think what's interesting to note here, a little bit different from what you've seen on the prior slides, is the setbacks. And this was a point of much discussion and collaboration with the city, really to not only allow the site to function on its own, but to also allow for the potential for future right-of-ways to be built in the neighborhood if future redevelopment should occur on the western and northern adjacent parcels to this site. And the next slide is a little bit more detail on that. You can see this is Everett Street would be planned south, and the Star Market parking lot would be planned north. And you can see our site contemplates setbacks on both the west and the north side to allow for future redevelopment and potential for future rights of way on both sides of that site. And so we would build the public infrastructure in terms of street trees and sidewalks on our site now that then could accommodate future rights of way off-site. The other thing that this plan brings to light is what Ford described about the fact that this site straddles actually two different zones within the Wackersee zoning. So the majority of the site on the left side of the page is within the lower density Everett-Telford district. The right portion of the site is within the Barry's Corner node. And as Ford described, we worked with staff to create a blend in terms of the FAR for the project that respects both the FAR and GFA caps for both districts. On the next slide, we have just a bit more design incorporated into this site plan. And of course, you can see a large open space on the south side of the site, which was something that was part of our original proposal, but actually grew and became much more important to the site as we went through the planning and public review process. We're really pleased that this will create a nice connection between our site and the McNamara House to the south, but also create a connection east-west within the neighborhood for residents to move back and forth to the Star Market and what could be there in the future. I think we'll just quickly move to the next couple of slides and then open it up for questions. Wanted to provide a view of the building architecture as well. Of course, we went through a rigorous BCDC process. Our collective goals with them was to create a cohesive design that drew from the existing neighborhood context and also built a hierarchy for the look and feel of this building, both through various moves that are shown in the massing, as well as the use of different materials and obviously color. We had several productive sessions with staff and BCDC subcommittee as well, and we were able to define an architectural language and then refine the palette and the materiality to be used within that language. One of the other key pieces of the BCDC process was to really delineate the open space and the public space. And you saw the open space on the south side, which is fully publicly accessible. We have 3 other courtyards that are designed within the project as it faces Everett Street. The central courtyard is shown on screen now, which is a public space and actually includes the main entry to the proposed community. So that is shown as a public open space as well. But there are also 2 other courtyards, one that is a level up to accommodate parking and loading, and another that is at street level, but is designed to be a residential courtyard only. The last slide is just another view from Everett Street into the project, showing that southern open space. Just off to the left of the image would be the McNamara House. There are existing trees on site, a portion of which will be preserved, and of course we'll be adding significant amount of new tree canopy as well. And I think the last slide shows the community, the details again, of one of which is the tree preservation shown in the community benefits, and of course the planting of approximately 90 new trees. There are other details here on blue bikes, of course, and the sustainability that was built. So I'll leave it there, open it up for questions or comment, but again, wanted to thank staff and city on the coordination through this process. We feel like the project really was improved during the process, and appreciated all the input we received.
Thank you. As the presentation comes down, we will see if we have questions or comments from the commissioners.
Yes, hi. I really appreciate the efforts at the tree preservation because, most urban trees have a lifespan of 5 or 10 years where they're planted new. So to preserve existing trees to the extent possible is a plus in my book. So thank you for those efforts. It's much appreciated.
Any other comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, we'll move forward with public testimony. If you do wish to testify on this, the last matter on the commission's agenda for today, please indicate that desire on Zoom. Commission staff will begin by calling on people in the order that they've raised their hands.
Yeah, we do have a couple of hands. Jane McHale. Jane, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
And you have 2 minutes, Jane.
Hello, I'm Jane McHale, and I'm on the board of the McNamara House next door, abutters of 80-unit elderly housing complex. And I've attended all of the meetings, and Mill Creek has also reached out to us to meet separately about the design. And I have found, all of us have found that Mill Creek has been very responsive, especially when we suggested moving the building back, and also with rat mitigation, which has been a lot of concern with our residents. And we ask that that continues, especially with construction. But we are in support of this building.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Tim McHale. Tim, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everybody, to the commission and to the Mill Creek folks. I sit on the Harvard Olson Task Force, many IAGs in the neighborhood, and I sat on this one. I'm also sort of in the butter to the site, I'm just a couple hundred yards away, and worked with a proponent many times.
Jeff, I don't know if Tim's microphone is unmuted.
Okay, testing. Am I on?
There we go. Now we can hear you. Well, why don't you start again, Tim, at the beginning?
Okay,
You have
sure.
2 minutes.
Tim McHale, in a butter of a couple hundred yards away. I sit on the Harvard Olson Task Force, many IAGs. I've sat on this IAG, very in tune with what's going on in the neighborhood from a development perspective with Harvard and all developers that are coming in, and found that Mill Creek is really, they want to do the right thing. The shape of the building looks great. The tweaks we requested, they did. And we find that the project is really cool. You know, it's open to the neighborhood with the balconies and the courtyards. The public realm piece is very gracious, and just the scale of the building works. And so I fully support it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that wishes to speak?
That is all of the raised hands I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. We will move forward with our business session. Are there any comments or motions from commissioners? If no comments, Michael will be pressed into a third round today.
I think, it's a well thought out project, and I think they did a nice job engaging the abutters and the neighbors in the community to design a nice project with, as I will say again, much needed housing for this neighborhood and the city in general. So I will make a motion to approve the correct map amendment application number 793, development plan for plan development area number 155, 250 Everett Street, Boston, Brighton, map 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, and 7B, 7D, Alston, Brighton Neighborhood District.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and second. We will now proceed with a roll call vote. Mr. DeMella.
Yes.
Mr. Marr.
Well done, Mike. Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Yes.
Mr. Ostrich.
Yes.
And Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that's 8 in favor. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes today's hearing. Commission staff, is there anything else for the commission today?
There is not. I just want to briefly give you a heads up that the executive order that allows us to meet virtually expires at the end of next month. And without an extension by the legislature, we will begin meeting hybrid starting in April. So we will meet next month, will be completely virtual again. It may be our last one, it may not. Once we find out more information, we will pass it along to you. Joanne, Cyrus, and other staff here at the planning department have been working to arrange the room, the TV, the internet, everything, so that we can work hybrid if necessary. But we will absolutely give you more information after the meeting next month, which will be extremely short. We only have one text amendment that is coming before you. So Kathleen and I will have more information about next steps for the commission. So that's all I have. Does anybody have anything for me?
Jeff,
No? Good. Great.
Yeah, not so fast.
Dave,
Jeff,
thanks for being my hype man today. Appreciate that.
Jeff, just here, can you be clearer on the definition of hybrid?
Yes. So,
excuse me real quick. I got to jump onto
all right.
the meeting, and a few of you folks have a good day.
Thanks,
Peace.
Nelson. So I believe the requirement is that we have to have a quorum in person. So that requires 6 commissioners to be present in City Hall during the meeting. Others can be virtual, online, whatever you want to call it. So that is hybrid. We need to have at least 6 in person.
Okay, thank you.
But we will have more information and final information on the March 12th meeting, which again, like I said, will be very short.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Sounds good. See you in March. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
To adjourn. Bye now.